Peter and the Enchanted Cavern, written by Alexander Laws, narrated by Colette Redgrave. Prologue. Many years ago in a distant land, an ancient city stood on the shores of a vast sea. Through the middle of the city meandered a great river, spanned by long, ornate bridges. A vast network of grand avenues, busy streets, and dark alleyways interwove the buildings and parks. Carriages transported noblemen to their businesses, and thieves lurked in shadowy corners. Traders bartered in the markets, and drunken sailors gambled and brawled in the taverns. At the very heart of the city, a magnificent cathedral towered over all the other buildings, and along the riverside heavy barges moored the docks. Many different people visited the city. Trading ships brought precious stones and spices from the east. Long caravans from distant lands brought wine and linen. Foreign merchants traded all manner of exotic goods in the marketplaces and grew wealthy overnight. From the docks a great road wound its way into the city, slipped past the cathedral and then pushed on to the far edge of the city. It stretched out into the countryside, passing by farms with fields filled with fat cattle and ripe crops, until it finally arrived at a pair of large wrought-iron gates. Beyond the gates, and nestled comfortably amongst the hills, was a magnificent palace. The palace sat at the centre of an enormous estate, teeming with plants and wildlife. There were huge parks filled with herds of deer. Small woods gave shelter to foxes and stoats, and in copses mice and squirrels made their home. Fish swam in the streams that flowed into deep ponds, where contented frogs sat on giant lily pads and fat toads hid in the shade of overhanging trees. Dams built by beavers created lakes where weeping willows dipped their branches into tranquil waters. Gardens of wonderful trees and plants provided a haven for birds and insects. Vegetables and soft fruits filled secret walled gardens, and colourful creepers clung to their walls. In vineyards bunches of grapes hung from thick vines, and in orchards the trees' branches bowed under the weight of their fruit. Intricate hedge mazes gave cover for hedgehogs, and inside them small birds made their nests. Smooth grassy paths and lawns like carpets connected the gardens. In the centre of all this splendour lay the palace itself, rising majestically from the gardens. Great stone steps led up from the gravel driveway to huge gold embossed doors that opened onto a grand entrance hall. Tall columns supported the high ceiling, and windows in the roof encouraged the sunlight to fill the hall. Many doors and corridors led off from the entrance hall, and two marble staircases curved round and up to the floors above. Behind ornate doors there were huge ballrooms for entertaining guests. There were dining rooms with long tables that could seat hundreds of diners, and function rooms provided areas for business. Comfortable lounges, with large sofas and soft armchairs, opened onto pretty courtyards and small, colourful gardens. Upstairs there were sumptuous rooms with grand four-poster beds and ensuite bathrooms and balconies that looked out over the gardens. At the back of the palace there were the kitchens and larders, and finally there were the quarters where the palace workers lived. The city, the palace, and the surrounding country had been at peace for a long time. The events about to unfold would amaze all, but only a privileged few would ever learn or read about them. Chapter 1. A Hearty Start. It was early morning, and it was raining. Dull grey clouds covered the sky, and the palace, despite all its splendour, looked somewhat dismal. The creepers that grew up the walls hung limply, and the drizzle of rainwater trickled down the roof and into the gutters. It can't still be raining, thought Peter glumly, as he looked out through one of the large palace windows. He had climbed up onto the window-sill to get a better view. He often sat there when he wanted to look out, or if he wanted to read. He was sitting along the sill with his back to the wall, his knees tucked under his chin and his arms wrapped round his legs. In front of him sat a large ginger and white cat. They watched as the raindrops trickled down the window-pane. Peter ran his finger down the glass, tracing the route of the droplets. He was bored. He had nobody to play with, and it had been raining constantly.
Sample complete. Ready to continue?